Yep.
This is it?
Yep.
Wow,
Good thing you showed.
could have been serious.
We've had,
Talk
We,
fast to get out of it.
they look good.
we don't need to do roll call or anything. Board of Equalization.
Just call it to order, and that's it.
I will call the Board of Equalization meeting to order and turn it over to Greg.
Alright, we'll just run through a few updates here quick first. So the sales study that we look at for this year was October 1st of 2020, and that goes through September 30th of 2021. And that's what sets our values going forward from there. For residential sales, we had 147 residential sales, 13 commercial sales, and 4 residential vacant lots. So that's a total of 164 sales that we've had. And that is, those residential sales are up
Thank you.
substantially. Yeah, at
We
least,
had 98 last year.
yeah. Yeah, so you can tell that our market was pretty crazy and stuff was selling. I mean, they're selling without going down the market where, you know, houses were gone within sometimes minutes even of people knowing they're for sale. New construction, we had 49 parcels with new construction, totaling the total value of new construction was $5,751,200. A lot of that was commercial property, that was a little over $2 million. We had residential improvements too, which included 3 new houses in the city. And that was a little over $1 million, and then that also includes the new county building out there that's not quite complete yet.
What was the number that you used? New construction of what? 40?
New construction value, so there are 49 new parcels.
49 new parcels, okay.
Yeah, or there are 49 parcels, they're not new, but that had some heavy new construction on
Oh, okay, sorry.
it. Yep, no, you're fine. So every year too, we have to do a quintile of the property it gets split up into 5 years. We do certain parts, we have to make an attempt to look at a property or try to get into a property every 5 years. This year, the quintile consisted of 398 parcels. That did not include the new construction. So yeah, that's about it for that. We had a few phone calls with questions on values, but a lot of it was just raised just because the market's going up was a lot of it, and they were just wondering, making sure it wasn't. There was more questions on the value notice itself, like I said. Yeah, they made some changes to it, so a couple people is just understanding that, or just even making sure their stuff is correct, because why did it go up? I didn't do anything new. Yes, we know it's just the way the market is. Stuff is selling really good right now. It still is. Stuff selling at a very good pace still. So, as far as training goes for you guys, Kevin, you're good till 24. Sheldon's good till 24, and that's all that we have trained right now. So other than that, I don't have a whole lot. You guys have any questions? Or
We have to have at least 2, right?
one.
Just one
We have to have a quorum, and then you need one person
out of
who's
that,
trained.
out of the quorum.
Yeah.
Okay.
And basically that person makes the ultimate decision in the end. It's only one person.
Okay.
Because they understand what they can, because there's rules of what we can and can't do and all that fun stuff, so.
For us to get our training again, are you gonna run through that down the road, or?
Yeah,
to
what
get it?
happens is usually when that opens up, I'll send like Stacy an email saying, hey, it's not open. It usually opens in like July.
Okay.
And then they close it February 1st. But it's pretty easy to get on. You hop on the website, and they've made changes even now where before you had to email them to get a password, a user ID.
Yep.
Now my understanding is they've opened it up. So you can hop on right there, put in your name, put your jurisdiction that you're in, and you go and you
Can
It's
start.
a lot faster, you can start right away.
Great, because I know,
We were having issues, because
Yeah.
farmers were coming and going, well, it's a rainy day, I wanna take and do my training. Well, then they couldn't get a password and their user ID quick enough from the state. So we started asking, we need to, what are we hiding? If Joe Blow wants to go up and go through this training, we're not hiding anything, it's just the process of everything of what the board can and can't do and all that stuff. So it's it's not anything specific that we're hiding, so they finally made that change is my understanding that, so that'll be a lot nicer.
Good, because I did reply, and then, yeah, by the time you wait to get your access codes and the time frame when you've
Right.
expired, and it's like,
Right, if you get it, a lot of times you get it, and then you're like, yeah, I don't have time right now to do it, and then by the time you came back to look at it, oh, you need a new password, your password expired. Okay, so
Yeah,
now you gotta start the
that's
whole process over, trying to get a password from
super.
them.
So I know Kim talked about to get updated, and I know I will, and
Yeah.
I'm sure Brian will, and
Yeah.
it's simplified,
It just
so.
makes it that much easier.
Yeah, just,
And I've even talked, we've been talking and asking the state, even if we can do some training out here too, I won't be opposed to doing it myself to train you guys, just because I think we get more out of it, rather than you sitting behind a computer.
Yeah.
right,
But when a
right.
question comes up, oh, I wonder what happens if this or that would happen. You just go, well, I gotta keep going, I don't have anybody I can ask, we're in a group, you we could discuss it and say, well, here's, you know, what we could do, or let's dig into it and try to find out where, it's,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I don't know, were you ever involved in a in-person training?
yep, I did one, I think at the old number one, I went down to
Yeah, you were
Benson and
I went
actually
to
took
Wilmer, I
one.
think, one year.
Yeah,
You
and
would
now
say-
they don't do any of that, it's all on the computer.
Yeah, I think my brother Donnie and I went together.
Yeah, we probably did,
Mhm.
Yeah, cause they used to bring the PTCO out here too, the property tax compliance officer, and he put on a class.
Yeah,
And it wasn't that they weren't getting people, but they just don't have time now, whatever, so it's like, you know.
well, I know certain information needs to be provided, so doing it online kind of makes sense. I mean, it doesn't take a trainer to do that, it's all
Right.
canned.
Right.
and- But I agree that
It'd just be
you
nice to
get
be
more
able-
out of it in person.
Right, just to
Yeah.
do it in a group even to be able to go through the slideshow
Yeah.
in a group would be nice sometimes to
Yeah.
go, oh, hey, well, I'm thinking this brings up this question of X, Y, Z, whatever it may be, and how would that work if this came up, or what do you do here, you know?
Right,
And it's
Right.
just good information sometimes, somebody has a question and 20 other people might be thinking it too, they just don't ask.
yeah.
That would be awesome if we were able to get a group together and do it
Right.
for everybody in July or August before, like
Right.
all the different townships, before they get into their
Right.
Mhm.
full
Right.
schedule, but.
All the
yeah, I think that'd
townships
be
have to have
awesome.
somebody trained, right?
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
organization.
Unless they do an open book meeting, which they can say, we don't wanna do this type of meeting anymore, and then it goes to an open book, and I basically run, they can, people can come up and ask questions up at the courthouse, and I just do it, which a lot of jurisdictions don't like, cause they like to somewhat be involved and know what's
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah.
So,
Super,
I get it.
thank you.
Yes,
There's really no easy way to, you know, occasionally we'll get questions on where the taxes, or what our tax money actually goes to, like, you know, you get, a portion of it goes to county, city,
yeah.
the school, and so I don't know if there's any quick answer, you know, elevator answer you
There
can give.
isn't, but the best thing that I would tell you is have them come, if people ask you, have them come to the TNT meeting that Becky puts on at the courthouse. Or go to YouTube and watch it. She does such a good job explaining how stuff is broke down and where it goes and why it has to go there and what is done with that. And even I've got questions too on how much money does this actually stay local, Craig? All of it, unless it's a commercial property or a seasonal rec, that goes, their state tax that they pay a
Right.
little bit of, that goes to the state. The rest of that stays here at the county, the school, the city or township, that's staying here.
Right.
It doesn't go out anywhere.
Right,
So I think that's a lot of people's question of, well, how much is really staying? Well, it all pretty much stays here unless you're paying a state tax, which is any your commercial property or any seasonal rec property.
right.
okay.
And that's a small portion of it. I mean, it's not very much of that, but.
I had two quick questions. One, because people have asked me stuff, but what's the maximum somebody's property value can go up? Is there a maximum?
There is not a max that value can go up right now.
Okay.
There used to be a limited market value. where
Yeah, because that's what I thought was,
15%, that went away 10 years ago now, probably or more. That used to be in place, and then we started to have issues with it, and that went away. Just because it got so hard where the market starts to take off, and if it's going up more than 15%, and you can only get that to 15%, when that sells, that limited goes away. Now we're jacking up this other person, you know. So a new home buyer that's coming in buying can really get hammered with a lot of that stuff. So it kind of slows the market down, or people that are building a new house, they don't get limited market value on new construction. So
And-
there's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts with that, but right now there's not a limit.
And then the other question is, so you have a property that sells at a very increased value compared to what it was before, then how is that valued for taxes?
We still have to look at the whole picture.
Okay,
Just because one sells for way high,
yep,
or one sells for way low, we have to look at everything that's out there and go, okay, we throw everything in our pool of all our good sales. Where are we at? What is our market doing? What's our market telling us from our good sales? And our good sales, then meaning a willing seller and buyer that put it out in the open market. It can't be relatives, they can't have prior interest in saying they rented it for 10, 15 years and they put money into the house by renovating the kitchen, that was part of their rent, or,
right,
anything like that, where we could find that out, or there was, somebody came in and remodeled the house and sold it, we didn't know that they had remodeled or updated the house, or value may be skewed a little bit that way. Those would be sales we throw out, but we look at the good values, and just because there's one way high, doesn't mean that they're all gonna increase. We have to look at the whole
sure,
pool of everything, and then the state is looking at that too, going, okay, did Craig raise values enough or lower values enough to be within this certain, we have to be within 90 to 105% of our ratio, meaning we look at what the house sold for, the value of what they paid for the house compared to what we have valued on it, we divide that out, we get a percent on there saying we're at 85% or 98%, wherever we're at, and then we look at all of them and divide it out and go, here's where our median is, here's where the middle of our houses are selling. If we're not within that 90 to 105, we have to raise or decrease the value of houses in a neighborhood or across the board,
Sure.
however the houses may be selling. So, and if we don't do that, then the state steps in and they do a state board order, which supersedes us and you and whatever, where they can just go, nope, here's what has to happen. And here you go.
So this year, there's across the board,
This
increase?
is for everybody, county, we did across the whole county just because we saw our values were too low, we needed to raise them.
I agree.
And a lot of it, what the state does too is they come in and they'll look at, okay, this house sold at this price 4 years ago, now 4 years later it sold again, well, look at the increase on it here. They'll come in and they'll go, okay, Craig, it looks like your values are going up 0.4% every month, or 0.04% every month. So your values are starting to go up like this. We need to look at putting a percent on there too of where stuff has gone from the past year to make sure you're still raising up. Just because you're sitting at a 92% ratio from what they sold at, well, house sales are still going up. So then they'll come in and they'll put a time adjustment on it, is what they call. So then that drops our ratio down or up, depending on what the sales are doing still and what's going on in the market. So then we have to adjust even more on that too. So there's a lot of variables that get thrown into all of it, a lot.
Now, there's been some activity, or I guess, on Facebook and so forth with regards to the old bus garage.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the way I understand that is, it's now, of course, zoned residential. And if somebody were to buy that, if I understand it correctly, maybe this is my question to you, is what is the rule or the law, I don't know what it is, but regarding storage facilities on a residential property, no more than, what is it, 1/3 of the property, or is it 2/3? Because we both know there's two big outbuildings there.
Right.
And if somebody were to build a home on there, would one of those buildings have to come out?
I don't know, there really isn't a law on that I know of, Kevin, is saying that so much has to be whatever. Well, I could have a building and use it as residential storage of my personal stuff, and I would still assess it as a residential. If I had that big building, I'd put all my personal
All
stuff
your toys in there?
how would I prove that some of it wouldn't be Chris's and some of it wouldn't be Joy's if I'm, just out there doing it, I'm not out promoting it. It
Right.
could still be residential.
I guess I was thinking of it more like, like say somebody had an unattached garage
Mhm.
and you got a 200-foot deep lot. I just thought there was maybe some ordinance or something that said so much of that has to be.
We just look at it as a residential garage. I mean, there's really nothing out there saying that if it's, if you have so much storage on there that it would go to any type of commercial
Okay.
storage or not that I know of.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, and so the way the codes read is it would be considered because I've had this question asked 5 times in the last 3 days. But you can have storage as an accessory use to a principal use. So you can't buy that property and then start storing stuff in it if nobody's living there. Because the storage would be accessory to the living space.
Oh,
And because people have asked, if I
Right.
buy that, can I store a bunch of stuff in there? And it's like, and then it has to be your stuff. It can't be anybody else's stuff.
okay, that's the
You know,
question I needed to know.
So that's, but it's there and there's no requirement to tear down something, that's there already, because it's too big for.
But that makes it pretty much unsaleable.
It is. We knew that when the city council and the planning
I mean,
commission
they have.
took their, you'd have, and the other thing that's probably important for you to understand, the other thing is between the building inspector and I, as it currently sits, it is not occupiable as a residential structure. Even though it has a bathroom and a kitchenette in it, because we've had that question asked, it's not occupiable as a residential structure right now. Somebody would have to do something to it because you have to have a kitchen, you have to have a designed kitchen and bathroom in there.
And that alleyway splits the property, as we
Yep.
know. So if you were to build a house on there, it would have to go, of course, on the other side of the
Could that
alley.
alley be vacated?
No, because it's used by, there's 3 houses that are along it. So that's where the
Yeah, they
garbage truck
pick up
comes through
garbage
and
through
everybody
there.
else. Yep. So it's an interesting dilemma, but we kind of knew that, and
How much, I wonder how far it is from that alley to the lake shore? I mean, would you be able to fit something in there? A small rambler or a small
There's 3
house?
houses on that, there's 2 houses on that side, isn't there?
they're
just
just,
the
along
one.
the road though.
they're along the road.
I
Yep.
think with your setback stuff, I don't know what you guys have from that lake, but that could, I don't know.
Fisher? No,
Flicker, I think.
Flicker.
Flicker's the-
He's on the other side of the
Yeah.
road.
Yeah, but he's back, then it jets out more, so you've got,
Yep.
Oh, so
you've
he's got more
land
property.
there, yeah. It's bigger around there.
Yeah, somebody wanted to park a camper in the building and live in it. And it's like, nope, you can't.
I was kind of wondering if that wasn't gonna be.
Yeah, no, that's not gonna be acceptable.
Well, the hands of the realtors are pretty much tied.
Yeah, but
'Cause it's
I,
unsaleable.
I've actually there's one person that I talked to that's interested in maybe buying, because you could take that building and if somebody was creative, they could make it a residential, the actual bus garage building, but somebody was looking at, buying the building and then taking the big, pole barn and then moving it, selling it, moving it somewhere else,
Sure.
which is doable.
Yeah,
And actually that was probably the best idea that I heard. Cause then you'd have a yard in the back across the alley that you could maybe do something with as far as,
Right.
putting up a picnic table or whatever. Cause those 2 parcels are not combined together.
Right, they get split because.
Cause they have the alley there. So it's kind of a unique,
Right.
but in theory, that is the garage that would go with the building in the front.
Right.
So I think that would be acceptable if because somebody was looking at it and said, that'd be awesome, fix up a place to live, and then I'd have a giant man's, garage in the back where they could do anything they wanted, store vehicles and,
I saw in there was a few other allowable uses in there besides residential, but it was fairly limited.
Yep.
Never say never.
yep, but I mean, that they keep,
Somebody'll spin it. I hope
the
so.
price is gonna be down there, so.
That's the only questions I had.
okay, anything else? Craig, anything else?
No, not that I can think of.
All right,
All right, thanks a lot.
yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Meeting adjourned.
Got her done.
Times they are flying.